Today we're finally outside here at Randall's Farm and Greenhouse, enjoying all things spring. Karen Randall joining us to talk about a topic that you said is one of the most common questions you get here at Randall's Farm and Greenhouse, which is what's the difference, Karen, between a plant that's an annual and a plant that's a perennial?
Okay. Well,
I know that's a lot to chew on.
It's actually, when you think about it, annual is a year. So an annual flower will bloom for the whole growing season or grow through the whole growing season, go to seed, and it's done in a year.
It. You get it for a year.
Exactly. And perennials are plants that come back more than 2 years. Okay, so they stay, they get established in the garden, they stay, and they return year after year. And especially if they're appropriate to our growing zone, which is zone 5, which means the zone reflects how cold the temperature gets in the winter. Because perennials will grow all season, they'll produce their blooms in a certain time frame, like maybe just a few weeks, spring, summer, fall, depending on the type of perennial. And then the plant stays in the garden. In the winter kills it down to the ground. In the spring, the plant sprouts up and comes back in the garden.
And we call that a hardy plant, but it has to be hardy to a certain temperature.
Exactly.
A perennial in California doesn't necessarily mean it's a perennial here in Massachusetts.
Right. If you lived in Florida, you'd have poinsettias and hibiscus and all these things in your gardens and hedges. But here, and we treat them as annuals because we don't have the correct temperature for them to come back.
And this is a good time right now to be thinking about putting perennials in the garden, correct?
Yes, because we're in mid-May. It's still cool. We can still have freezing nighttime temperatures. You know, we've had preceding very cool, rainy weather. So perennials will grow in any of those conditions because they're a plant that survives the winter and comes back every year. So the perennials that we're showing now are what we call the spring blooming perennials.
These are all classics around here.
You know, creeping phlox, the iris are just blooming.
And these are generational, as we said. These will come back not just for years, but for decades.
You can have your grandmother's iris.
Which you have, don't you?
We have those in our garden still. Creeping phlox with all of the carpet of color. They're the first thing in the spring.
Bleeding hearts are out.
Bleeding hearts are out. Columbine. We have allium, which is a flowering onion. These are just starting to pop. You get some nice warm days, they'll be all flowered out. We even have some bowls of little cold weather perennial collections in front of us.
Oh, that's neat.
And when you're planting perennials, most perennials will do okay in any location, but they'll thrive in the correct location. So hostas and bleeding hearts, heuchera, they're shady perennials.
Sure.
And then other perennials love the sun. So your creeping phlox, you'll see where you're getting a lot of sun.
They love to sunbathe.
They do. They love to sunbathe.
And that's all information we can get on the tags as far as how hardy they are, what zone they work best in, and whether they're sun or shade.
And another good thing to do, Chris, when you're looking for them to come up next year, if you keep your tag with your plant, you're going to know what's sprouting in the spring.
That was my idea last year until I had a 2-year-old. And he walked behind me and picked out all the tags. But still great advice nonetheless. Karen, thank you.
Thank you.